Hello there and welcome to Weston Nurseries in Lincoln, where I'm going to take a moment to talk to you about hibiscus. Specifically two types of hibiscus. We're not covering tropical on this occasion, but the ones that are hardy in gardens in the northeast of the States. So I'm going to start first of all with Rose of Sharon is its common name, Hibiscus syrica. Generally this is a shrub that in the species form would grow to about 10 to 12 feet tall, 6 to 8 feet wide. It's big, it's also deciduous, and it's pretty hardy. It grows between zones 5 and 9. It is drought tolerant to a certain degree once it's established. It can definitely take general normal dry summers. A little bit of supplemental water might not go amiss in the weather we've been having recently. The flowers generally last only a few days, but if you look at these plants, you can see there is a long succession of buds. So they start blooming round about midsummer. You know, you will have seen them in your neighborhoods and that doing their thing for a few weeks now. And they'll continue to do that for several more weeks, potentially well into September if you're lucky. Yes, the original plants, big, tall shrubs, great for the back of the border, great for making hedging, little too big for foundation planting, but a specimen plant as well. And usually in single flowers like this particular one. 5 petals, and the middle usually has a red eye, as in the case with that one. That was purple pillar. The other thing to note about the earlier varieties of shrubby hibiscus, they do tend to produce a lot of seed, and there are a few states in the country where Rose of Sharon is considered invasive just because they seed so prolifically and establish themselves too well in the environment. They are not banned here in Massachusetts, and in any case, over the years, regardless of the invasiveness, breeders have realized that people don't want to spend their time pulling up unwanted seedlings. So they have developed a number of what are known as sterile versions that produce virtually no seed or very little. And the chiffon series, this is blue chiffon here. I'll talk about it a little more in a minute. I'll find one with the flowers actually open, but we have blue chiffon, white chiffon. There's a whole range of them with the name chiffon. They are virtually seedless. The varieties Aphrodite, Minerva, Diana, and Helena are also in the same category, along with the more compact variegated one, Sugartip. So there are selections that you can choose that do not produce seed, but many of the older tried and true varieties do tend to fall into that category. Hibiscus plants, fantastic for pollinators. While we've been waiting to start this, we've been watching. There's been bumblebees totally covered in pollen, sort of burrowing into the center of the plants. So hence, that's why we get plenty of seed from some of the varieties. They attract all sorts of pollinators, bees, butterflies, hummingbirds as well. So great if you want pollinators in your yard. Talk a little bit more about the varieties. I'm just going to talk about the ones that we have here currently at Lincoln. Our other locations of Hopkinton, Chelmsford and Hingham will maybe have a different selection. The two on the right here are actually purple and white pillar, and these are cultivars that have been selected for a more narrow columnar growing habit. So they will still reach about 12 feet tall, but they only get to a maximum of about 3 feet wide. Really great for hedging when you don't want an expansive, dense, wide hedge, but you still want height for privacy. The other way that we can have them as a specimen plant are the ones behind here, and these you can see have been cultivated to have a single trunk and then all the foliage branching out at about 5 feet tall. So you would put them somewhere where you can admire them, you know, by the edge of a patio, in the middle of a lawn, whatever, you know, front yard, wherever you want to really have a feature plant. Not all of us are able to grow ones that potentially get 8, 10, even 12 feet tall. And there are some more compact shrubby versions around. We don't actually have them in stock at the moment. We should have them back in very shortly. But there is a variegated leaf cultivar called sugar tip. And that only grows to about 4 to 5 feet tall. It has candy baby pink flowers that are double, and the leaves are green with little white splashed edges, very attractive. So lastly, a little bit more about the flowers. Single with, as is purple pillar here, a good red eye is quite common. In this case, white pillar is single without the eye. So most of them do have an eye to some degree or another, but white pillar is pure white. And other ones, like the chiffon series, are somewhat double. So you can see here that the flower it has the 5 outer petals, and then the inner ones, it might strictly speaking be called what they call semi-double, but hey, it's a frilly mass of petals. And again, you can actually still see the red eye is there in the background. I want to move on now to another plant in the same family. This is a perennial Hibiscus moscutus. These are all that I have here are cultivars of a native plant which here in North America grows all the way down from somewhere like Ontario, all the way down to Florida and Texas. Is a plant that actually naturally grows in moist conditions. So it will grow in wetlands. It will grow by the side of riverbanks, streams, things like that. Fortunately for us gardeners, the breeders have made them more tolerant of drier conditions. They do not like drought. If you've got them in your yard at the moment, I would say please check on them every once in a while if they're not in naturally moist conditions. We have here great examples of what you can see for the different cultivars. I will draw your attention to the fact that the flowers are much bigger on these. These perennial ones produce the biggest flowers of all, and there's my hand for reference. You know, it's not uncommon for some of them to have a span of about 8 inches, even a little bit bigger. Again, great for pollinators and that, and believe it or not, despite the size they get, they are true perennials. One thing to note with them as perennials, they are slow to start growing. It won't be until about May time that you start to see the new growth come up. Wait, give it time, you know, sometime in May you'll start to see the shoots come up. So just like any perennial, it will also die down in the winter. And the stems, you know, the leaves will change color, fall off, and you'll be left with the stems, which you can cut back to the ground if you wish, once they're completely dead. Or because they're hollow, if you're particularly wishing to create a pollinator environment, don't cut them back all the way down. You know, cut them to maybe 6 inches, maybe a foot, and leave the hollow stems, because there are plenty of native bees that actually nest in hollow stems, and this would give them some habitat for the following years. And if you don't cut them back too far, the new growth will easily hide those stems, you know, once spring comes again. I'm just going to run through quickly and talk about a little bit of the colors, just so you can see the range of choices that the growers are giving us these days. So this one is comparatively new, Cookies and Cream. They've managed to enhance the foliage to give us this wonderful burgundy color, deep purple. It's also a nice, neat, compact plant. Some of them don't get, you know, beyond 4 4 feet tall, and they naturally branch a little more than the species, so you get more of a mound shape here. And again, this one is also without the red eye to the middle, so it really is a stunning dramatic contrast. Moving along, we have ballet slippers, which is the most delicate, pretty pale pink, which is actually darker around the edges of the petal, and again with that beautiful red eye to give a contrast to everything. And then, similar to ballet slippers, but with the purple foliage, it is Perfect Storm. So you've got the dark foliage to give that dramatic contrast to the flower. And then the last one that I have that's flowering currently is Garnet Globes, and what a perfect name for it. You know, it is, again, this is where they've got the dark reds going. It's got darker foliage, and just look at the amount of pollen that's falling off this plant. You can see why the bees love them. It's a really good food source, particularly for bumblebees. And then my last one, which will have flowers similar in color to that, which is a stunning contrast, but this one's a little behind, so it's not quite there yet. But this one is called Summer Carnivore, and this one I just want to draw your attention to. Yes, the foliage here is tricolored. It's predominantly green, but with white and pink margins, which means you have an attractive plant at all times of the growing season. So this is what I wanted to showcase for you. A couple of plants in the same family. You can use them differently, of course. You know, we've got them growing as trees, as screening hedge, as plants that you can put in the border, as some of them that you could put in containers, large containers. You know, they are very versatile and easygoing. You know, the perennial ones are native originally to the Americas, North America. The shrubby ones actually come from South China, Taiwan, Korea, but they have been a gardening staple for decades, and the breeders are doing much to be aware of the environment, to not introduce plants that will take over wherever people are growing them and push out native vegetation. So we now have virtually seedless or seedless versions in order to prevent that happening. So I hope you enjoyed this little explanation of a couple of plants that we have doing their thing at this point in mid-August here in Lincoln. I'm Catherine Cooper, and if you liked what you saw, we can show you plenty more along those lines. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on social media. There's plenty of information and tips to be found there, even on our website as well, where you can find a wealth of information. Thank you and happy summer.